Charles L.Gaines is an American writer and outdoorsman, notable for numerous works in both the fiction and non-fiction genres. His writing most typically concerns the outdoors sports of fishing in general and fly fishing in particular, as well as upland bird hunting and mountaineering, often with an intellectual and philosophical bent, and an eye towards the various cultures and traditions surrounding different forms of fishing around the world. In addition to his outdoors writings, Gaines covered the golden age of professional bodybuilding and is the author of Pumping Iron, considered the definitive journalistic work in that field, and credited in large part for bringing greater public awareness to what was formerly a little-known subculture, as well as helping to launch the career of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Gaines also narrated and contributed to the documentary film of the same name. Gaines is active in the conservation movement and in particular the stewardship of the North American Atlantic salmon fisheries. He has served on the board of directors of the Atlantic Salmon Federation. Early life. Gaines was born in Jacksonville, Florida in 1942, the son of Charles Latham Gaines and Margaret Gaines. At the age of 10, he and his family moved to Birmingham, Alabama. As a teenager, Gaines took up bodybuilding. He briefly attended Washington and Lee University but left school to travel around the country. He later received his BA from Birmingham Southern College and his MFA in writing from the University of Iowa. In 1970, he moved to New Hampshire, where he taught creative writing at New England College. Writing career. In 1972, Gaines published his first novel, Stay Hungry. This work of fiction focused on the subculture of bodybuilding during the early 1970s, and revolved around the lives of three characters in Birmingham, Alabama: Craig Blake, a young heir from a family of Southern gentry; Mary Tate Farnsworth, a young woman of working-class background; and Joe Santo, a bodybuilder, athlete and Renaissance man figure of French-Canadian and Menominee Indian ancestry. As well as exploring the culture of bodybuilding in great detail, the novel also dealt with themes of class difference, spirituality and self-identity. In 1976, Stay Hungry was made into a motion picture starring Jeff Bridges, Sally Field and Arnold Schwarzenegger. In 1974, Gaines created Pumping Iron, the art and sport of bodybuilding, a photo essay with photographs by George Butler which focused in even further detail on the professional bodybuilding scene during the 1970s. It featured such bodybuilding greats as Arnold Schwarzenegger, Franco Columbu, Serge Nubret, Ken Waller, Mike Katz and Ed Corney, and provided a factual and philosophical exposition of the sport of bodybuilding. It is considered to be a seminal work in that field, and still enjoys significant popularity. Pumping Iron was adapted by Butler into a documentary film of the same name in 1977, this time focusing on the 1975 Mr. Olympia bodybuilding contest and the rivalry between Schwarzenegger and Arp and Camilo Ferrigno, though also including all of the bodybuilders from the original book. The film enjoyed great success, bringing both Ferrigno and Schwarzenegger into the spotlight and increasing the public profiles tremendously. It also helped to further popularize bodybuilding as a sport and bring it into the mainstream. Gaines continued writing on the topic of bodybuilding, publishing an exercise manual, Staying Hard, the only exercise book you'll ever need, in 1980, and writing a biography of Charles Atlas in 1982. In 1995, he wrote the autobiographical novel A Family Place, which documented the building of a family cabin in Nova Scotia with the help of his wife and children. In 2001 he published The Next Valley Over, An Angler's Progress, a creative non-fiction work which detailed his fly fishing experiences all over the world. He also co-authored Leaper, The Wonderful World of Atlantic Salmon Fishing with Monty Burke. Gaines currently teaches writing part-time at the Spalding University Master of Fine Arts program, and continues to contribute articles to outdoors publications. Invention of Paintball. In 1976, Gaines returned to New Hampshire from an African buffalo hunting safari, and discussed with his friend Bob Guernsey the idea of a game in which the participants would stalk each other through the woods. The concept was inspired in part by the short story The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Connell. In 1981, Gaines and 11 others played the first game of paintball, using nail-spot pistols which were intended for marking trees and livestock by ranches. This initial game was a capture-the-flag style scenario. Later, Bob Guernsey formed the National Survival Game Company, which was the first firm to sell paintball equipment. In 1997, Gaines published a novel entitled Survival Games, which features inventors of paintball, probably based upon Gaines and Guernsey, as the main characters.